Not sure if you've been following the case that Fender Guitars has currently been doing about copyrighting the shape of the Stratocaster guitar. Now, in America, where that guitar was created in 2009, it has been marked as a shape that is public domain. So it's been interesting what's been happening right now with that guitar, Fender Guitars as a company, and what they've been trying to do to other guitar companies that make guitars with a similar shape. Now, I don't fully want to talk about Fender Guitars, kind of want to talk about behind what's happening. See, my wife is a professional photographer. She has been for over 6 years now, and the way she got to it was from losing a job and wondering what would her dream job look like if she could start over. And she had a friend who's a professional photographer. And this friend literally helped show her how to use her camera that she had, as well as pulled up a chair next to her while she was editing in Adobe on her computer. Why is that important? Go with me. Well, there's this story about the famous King David, the giant slayer. And it talks about one morning that David wakes up sad because he's missing his friend Jonathan, who happened to be the son of the last king. And he asks one of his servants to see, is there anybody left from Saul's family that I could possibly bless? So the servant goes out and he brings back this man named Mephibosheth, which is a mouthful. And what David does is he tells Mephibosheth, who's trembling because he's in the presence of the new king, who's in the palace that he would have once lived in, or his grandfather at least. And the king has summoned him, and David says, Mephibosheth, I want you to sit at my table and dine with me from now on. David also said, I'm going to give you back all of the land that your grandfather's family owned. Let's assume that when there's a change of power, you get the palace, you get the land, among other things. So from that day on, it says Mephibosheth sat at the king's table. So what does that have in common with Fender Guitars, my wife losing her job, and starting her dream career? I think it's a scarcity mindset. I think there's a fear that happens inside of us, sometimes when we're kids, sometimes when we're adults. You ever sat at a table and there's too many kids around it, or not enough money to fill the table with food? So every time it was dinner time, you're all fighting for the next piece of pizza, whatever's on the table, because you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. And I think what we need to worry about as business owners, creators, as marketing agents, people in industry, is that we don't live in fear that our best ideas are behind us, even our best products. Fear tells us that this is the last greatest idea you will have, so protect it. But there is something beautiful about the fact that my wife's friend, Kelsea, from Kelsea Midson Photography, would say, I've got a seat at the table. Do you want to learn how to use that camera? Do you want to know how to edit? There's something beautiful about a king looking for someone that he can bless, someone part of the family who used to be in power. King David wasn't worried in that moment about his throne. He just wanted to love someone and give them a seat at the table, because he was aware that he was first given a seat as well. A lot of the argument that's been happening around the Fender Guitars controversy is, should this body shape be public domain? Should Fender be able to send cease and desist letters and demand people destroy their products after all this time? A lot of people are saying, well, Fender You wouldn't have to worry about this if you made better guitars. Just make a better guitar and then you won't have to worry about it. But I think that's only one very specific angle. And the thing I think that saddens me the most is when companies get so big, they sometimes lose sight of where they came from. You take someone, for instance, like Josh Scott of JHS Pedals in Kansas City, who's kind of famously become like the cheerleader of the guitar industry and pedal manufacturing, but has in the last few years become famous for working with other brands, collaborating, sharing stories, sharing circuits, being quite open about industry secrets, because he's not worried that he's not going to come up with the next best, greatest idea. I can tell you, even though I don't know him, he does not have a scarcity mindset. He understands that somebody made guitar pedals before him, and somebody helped him along the way to do what he was doing. How do you fix that mindset? Pull up a seat and see who you can bring along with you on the journey. And then you'll realize that ideas aren't finite, they're infinite. Who has given you a seat at the table? You and I have only been able to do what we are doing now because of the people that have gone before us and the people that saw us and saw something when we didn't see something in ourselves, and they weren't afraid of us. They weren't worried about us being better than them. They just wanted to give us a seat because they were first given a seat. There's room at the table. Go grab a seat and see who you can bring with you.